How would you like to join us, Patty Lou, Riff and Robin, on board the Willem Johannes? We'll take you with us on our journeys. Whether it be in rougher or calmer waters, cruising on lakes, rivers and open waters, we share with you our stories from dusk till dawn. We depart from our permanent marina Monnickendam for a voyage of almost 3 months to the Baltic Seas. While doing so, we are waved goodbye by Riff's friend Ott and his owners, who will also soon be sailing toward the Baltic Sea with our sister ship Gandalf.
Doei! Veel plezier! Doeg! Hey, die is leuk!
We are taking our new dog Riff on a long voyage for the first time, and this will also largely determine the sailing pace. Riff is already used to being on board, but so far we've only sailed day trips. Now the trip begins with some adjustments to the sail setting. These include the new rigging around the cutter jib, and we tighten a few extra bolts here and there, just to be safe. We also create a safe place for the dog, for when the weather gets rougher. Along the way we meet our friends on the Vlieland, which is also regularly sailed the Baltic Seas. We make a real sail pass with them and wave them off to the south, where they will spend their vacation. That also provides us time to shoot some pictures of one another's ships. We pass Enkhuizen on our way to our first destination, Medemblik, in the Lake IJssel. Here we had not been for a very long time. And you can moor there under the Radboud Castle, a fantastic location and also a perfect opportunity to let Riff stretch his legs. We leave Medemblik the very next morning for our next destination, Makkum. With light winds and a view of the new wind farm, we soon moor there along the jetty, where we also spent part of last winter. This time it's a bit busier with the classical cargo ships we call the Brown Fleet. They come in mass from Harlingen to let out their school children in Makkum. We also walk our adolescent in the familiar surroundings of his first days aboard the ship. The next morning we leave Makkum early to sail through the Lawrence Locks. This is blocked during rush hour, so it's important to sail through there before 7 a.m. Because of this early time, the tide is also favourable, so we have the current with us the entire trip and can sail much of the way to our destination, Vlieland. Riff is already beginning to feel more comfortable on the longer voyages. while inside, the final workload is still being completed. After reaching the Wadden Isle, Vlieland, we have a little challenge mooring the boat. This starts when approaching the harbour in strong side currents, as can be seen when we're mooring and film the Polish catamaran which came after us. Then we had a strong crosswind to moor the boat on the higher shore, and after a first failed attempt, we are soon safely moored. We explore the island with Riff, and as usual we buy out a few stores, causing the island averages another few inches higher after our visit. Meanwhile, we plan the next stage of our journey towards Tiburon, the northern part of Denmark. Or at least, that's the plan. The next morning, we get ready for departure and prepare for the night at sea. Traditionally, we get ready for a trip by putting out large amounts of grab food that helps us fight fatigue and possible seasickness. We make sure we have our safety features ready. We dress ourselves layered, starting with thermo and topping it off with our sail suit. We make the bed ready for our off-duty sleep, and we make sure that the e-wincher, one of our best friends if I do say so, is charged and ready. The night's sleep made us decide though to choose a different destination after all. This means we will only be at sea for one night with our young dog who we let run on the beach for a while. The 138-mile journey to Helgoland can begin. The trip to Helgoland is mostly downwind, and because the wind is somewhat variable, we navigate between the islands and the traffic separation zone. It's become almost like a zigzag course to avoid too many jibes. In the traffic separation zone, the big ships are on their way back and forth to Hamburg and other destinations, and sailing is prohibited there. Our dog Riff has to find his rhythm and is regularly taken out on deck. In particular, he still finds the ship moving around on the waves a bit exciting. But he undergoes the trip with ease. As long as the owners think it's normal, Riff seems to think it'll be okay. So the three of us sail into the night, and the schedule of 3 hours on, 3 hours off has already begun in the afternoon. We take turns sleeping and the other keeps watch. Only the last stretch we sail in pairs to cross the traffic separation zones. It's good to have a few extra eyes. That last stretch in particular brings the necessary challenge. Because you have to cross the traffic system straight across, it means strong waves now came from the side. This while the winds died down and did not come from a favorable angle. So the waves were about 3 to 4 meters high at least. So we motor sailed the last stretch to Helgoland, but at the expense of some crockery, and the interior is traditionally reorganized from starboard to port and vice versa. Once moored in port, we clean up the damage to the interior, we dry our wet sailing clothes, and after half an hour of cleaning up, everything is back in order and we have safely reached our destination. And Riv is happy to finally sleep properly. We're moored at the floating jetty, which is quite a relief, because last time we were moored here along a 6-meter high wall, having to climb up a steel ladder upwards to get off. We explore the island with Riff the next day, where huge colonies of Jan van Gent birds, or northern gannets, have nested here since the 90s. A true joy to watch these birds fly along the high Pacific redstone coastline. Meanwhile, we're planning the rest of the trip. In order not to have to sail through the Northeast Sea Canal again, we are thinking of another route, namely the route along the River Eider. From there, you can meander through the Baltic Sea in a more inspiring way to halfway the Kiel Canal and finally the Baltic Sea. Again, a good night's sleep leads to new insights again. In his books, René Vleut, the expert on sailing on the Baltic Sea, who sadly passed away, advises against an approach to the Eider above winds force 5. And the forecast is 5 to 6, with gusts up to wind force 8. And so we changed our minds. We head for the Northeast Sea Channel again via Cuxhaven. And the tide is favorable for it. The idea is then to sail on to Brunsbüttel to enter the canal through the lock. But due to unforeseen circumstances, that destination was also not reached. We are truly flying across the North Sea, and the washing machine of waves turned out not to be so bad. Current and wind now help each other in the right direction, but what helps most is the wind in the sails, which pushes us through the heavy waves. Riff is increasingly at ease, even on these longer trips. Quite a relief, Riff turns out to be a true seal. Within sight of Cuxhaven, our euphoria is disturbed with a loud bang. It turns out that the connection between the sheets and our Genoa hook has failed. A stroke of luck is that we are within sight of the harbour. So we haul in the sail, which continues to dangle pitifully out of reach of both of us. So it's a matter of getting the Genoa down quickly so it does not get knocked loose by the oncoming strong winds that were promised after all. After a smooth start by both of us, help was spontaneously offered by a Danish neighbour who, together with some girl power, helped to haul in the sail. A welcome help because after the fracture in Robin's upper arm during the previous sailing trip in the winter, the recovery is not yet complete. So this week of our trip ended with a bang. Fortunately, we already found a sailmaker willing to help us on Monday to repair the sail. And with that, we hope to resume our voyage on Tuesday, perhaps Wednesday. The upshot? A few quiet days ahead. It almost feels like a vacation. If only the weather could be a little more summery. Follow our adventures on social media, YouTube and on our website sailingwillemjohannes.nl.